Hello everyone, I'm Dave Thomas, and today I am building the Mini Alpha by Estes. And this is another one of their recent, really easy to assemble kits. And we'll just go ahead and open this guy up. Okay, find our instruction sheet here. That'll give us our parts list. Okay, so inside we've got a small parts package that's basically everything except the body tube. So the fins are in here, the fin can, the nose cone, recovery system there. Now the body tube got a little bit squished in shipping here, and it looks worse than it is because that will fold back out. And once the nose cone is in there, then it can set for a while and it should re-round itself nicely. And then we should have some decals. Yep, there's the decals. So it looks like everything is here. And we'll go ahead and start in on the build. Okay, now it looks like this is actually made so we can build it without any glue. Now once we get it together, I will show you how to add some glue to it if you want the added strength. Alright, so we'll just pop this together. If you've ever built the Star Hopper, this is the same fin can. Alright, so that's just going to press together here. May take some pretty heavy squeezing. Just line up the little pins with the little holes and just keep applying pressure up and down it until the whole thing seals up on itself there. Okay. This part can be a little tricky. All right, so first of all, we're going to tie the shock cord onto this little wire piece. As I said, this part here is also identical to what the Star Hopper uses. And this is a place here where if you have some Kevlar line, you might want to replace this with Kevlar. The rubber is, it burns fairly quickly since this is a very small volume rocket, and so the exhaust gases seem to do more damage to this than in bigger rockets. Alright, so if you do choose Kevlar, I would get a piece that's probably about 3 feet long. Alright, so as I did here, go ahead and trim that back a little bit, but not so much that the knot comes undone. Now here, if you want to, you can add just a little touch of wood glue or white glue, and only use those. Don't use cement of any kind or super glue of any kind because they will deteriorate the rubber. That's just enough to keep that knot from coming undone. Alright, and then once you've got that, there's this groove right here. Okay, and so this is going to insert in that groove and fold down. Now the angle is offset, so if you try and do this perpendicular, it won't fit. You got to kind of angle it in there. Alright, and now we're going to take the body tube, and the 2 holes here will be facing the fin can, so that's the aft end of the tube. I'm just going to feed the shock cord through there. Okay, all the way up, and then that's going to hold that shock cord anchor in place. Okay, and then just push it in so that those 2 tabs fit into the holes like that, and that's locking the body tube in place there. Alright, and we'll come to the next page. We're going to add the fins. You can put these on in any order. Alright, and these just go into the holes and push forward, and we need to make sure that the aft end of the root edge there is not hanging out into that threaded area. Okay, just like that, goes together very easily. Alright, now we're going to take our retainer here and just screw that on. Okay, and this is actually what locks the fins in place there. Okay, and then they're having us apply the decal kind of before this, even though it's all complete here. So come down and put the nose on first. Alright, so check, make sure there's nothing blocking that eyelet. If there is, carefully take it out with a hobby knife without actually breaking that. Alright, we're going to pass our shock cord through this end. And just like we did on the anchor, we're going to tie a double knot here. If my fingers will work correctly. Alright, and then just pull from all the directions, make sure it's cinched down well. And once again, if you want, you can apply just a little tiny dot right on the knot there. Again, using wood glue or white glue. And then trim that back about to 1/4 inch or about 5 to 6 millimeters there. Okay, and then for the streamer here, they just tie it on. I personally like to use just a little bit of electrical tape to do that. So here I've got some yellow. You can use any color. All right, I'm going to just pull off a fairly short piece of that. Oops. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is just place this, actually, before I do that, I'm going to trim off the streamer first so it has a nice clean edge. There we go. Alright, now I'll put this about halfway down the length, like that. Okay, now they're showing about 3 inches here, and it doesn't have to be exact. So here I'm going to place, first of all, the shock cord on the tape, not on the streamer. And I'm going to fold that over, so I'm also catching both the shock cord and the streamer there under the sticky side of the tape, and just kind of squish that all down. And then to assemble this, if you're doing this for launch, you'd put probably 1 or 2 pieces of recovery wadding down in there. But right now I'm just storing this. But instead of trying to roll it up, which takes a lot of time, also don't roll it around the shock cord, as it won't deploy. It'll just sit there with the very end flopping around. All right, instead what I like to do is fold it over itself lengthwise several times. And then when it's a manageable length, you can go ahead and roll that up. Right, and then we're going to stuff the shock cord down here. All right, follow that by the rolled up streamer. All right, and that should go down fairly easily. If it's having a lot of resistance, try re-rolling it and do it again. All right, now making sure that I don't get shock cord caught between the shoulder and the tube, I'm placing that in. Okay, I'll do a shake test here. So that's not coming out on its own, that's good. But we can still pull it out reasonably well. Okay, so it's not too tight and it's not too loose. Okay, so now, aside from decals, this thing is done. Before I put on the decals, I want to show you how you can put a little more permanence to this. All right, now as I said, this will fly just as it is with everything held in place by friction. But if you would like to add some glue to these joints, you can. What you'll want to use is a very thin brush-on type of glue. This one's made by Tamiya. There are other brands and other formulations. But what we want here is something that's nice and thin and can be drawn into those cracks there by capillary action. So we're just going to apply this to the seams of all the fins. If you want, you can also put it on this seam here. And if you accidentally get some where you don't want it, just leave it alone. Once it dries, it's not noticeable. And then we just continue this all the way around. Should be all of it. I'm going to give this just a couple of minutes to allow that to dry so it doesn't run onto my fingers or something. And when we come back, we'll do the decals. We are now ready to put on the decals, and just before I turned the camera back on, I thoroughly washed my hands so that the skin oils and dead skin cells would not get onto the decals as much. They'll still get there. But that should make them adhere better. And this will fly just fine without decals. They don't serve any structural purpose. So if you just want to build this and get it out to the launch pad, you're good to go. Okay. There's also no reason why you couldn't paint this if you wanted to. Now, if you do want to paint the body tube, I would recommend doing it before you assemble everything. You can use other decals, do whatever you want. This is your rocket. All right. Now I'm going to put the main Mini Alpha decal on the side opposite the launch lugs so that everybody can see it when it's sitting on the launch pad. Now the drawback to these is they're not very forgiving, so you kind of got to get it right the first time. I'm just going to touch this very lightly. That looks fairly reasonably straight. Let me see if I can pull it up and just adjust it a little tiny bit. I'm going to go with that. So once you have it where you want it, go ahead and smooth it down the middle first, and then just work to the sides and edges. Now, I've had a lot of problem with Estes kits with these self-stick decals is that they tend to start peeling up around the edges with age. And to fix that, you can apply just a small amount of regular viscosity super glue to that and just kind of carefully smush that back down, and it'll hold those edges down. Alright, I'm hoping we won't have any problem with this one. Now, next, the straight stripes here, those go around near the nose cone. And what I'm going to do is put where it's going to overlap on the back side here with the launch lug, so that when we look at it on the pad, we don't see any mistakes. Okay, so here I am using the edge of the tube as a guide. I'm right like a millimeter below that. Alright, and if we got this perfectly done, those stripes should just overlap and look exactly like each other. It's not quite there. They just don't want to go that direction. That's pretty close. There we go. Okay, so again, we'll smooth that down. And then we have the angled stripes here. These are supposed to go on the two white fins, according to the illustration. The hard part's finding the right orientation for them here. Alright, so this one is going to go here. And it's basically just below the leading edge. Okay, that looks pretty good. Alright, and the other ones we just continue doing it like that. Alright, then we'll just put the retainer back on here for now. And there's our Mini Alpha. Alright, this is ready to go. And so, have a great launch and a safe recovery, and please stay tuned for more of my videos.